Chapter 386. However, Zishan was not able to feel any bit of happiness from freedom. Seeing how much pain Yihong was in, what kind of freedom would she want? Yihong. Zishan could be seen running towards Yihong and hugging onto Yihong. Zishan's heart was aching faintly. Yihong was just a bit exhausted, but seeing that the person she liked was fine, Yihong was very satisfied. With a smile on her face, she said, "Zishan, you are finally free. Why are you so stupid?" Zishan raised her fist and lightly punched Yi chin, just like a little girlfriend who was acting coquettishly. Yihong smiled foolishly and said, "Big brother often says that I'm stupid." After finished speaking, Yihong faced Yihua and shouted out respectfully, "Your Honor, thank you." "No need, because it's all up to you now." These words caused Yihong and Zishan to be startled. Suddenly, 3 powerful auras appeared, and this caused Zishan's beautiful face to change. His Highness Men had arrived. "Zishan, it seems like someone has come to bring you home," Yihua said calmly. This group of people came quite quickly. Yihong slowly stood up. Her physical strength had also recovered quite a bit. Yihong smiled and said, "Zishan, then I will send you back." Big Brother Green really wanted to slap Big Brother Green. The other person was obviously going to stay behind for you, and you still want him to leave. Is there something wrong with your brain? Then, let's go out and say our goodbyes. Don't disturb my mood of watching TV. Yihua said calmly. He was very curious if Zishan would leave or not. Yihong had indeed thought that Zishan would leave, so she wanted to send Zishan off. "Let's go." Yihong's tone was still filled with reluctance, but what else could she do? His honor was able to keep her body, but he was unable to keep her heart. Yihong held Zishan's hand and walked out of the villa. After the two of them left, Qing Yutong shook her head. What a fool. Everyone couldn't help but nod their heads. Even Yihua felt that Yihong was foolish enough to not understand a woman's heart. This was something that he had to learn from the main body. However, the dragon rebel sword, which had been set aside, seemed to be very embarrassed and ignored. The two walked out of the villa and happened to run into Lin Hong and the other two. Zishan didn't want to cause trouble in front of her house, so she disappeared with Yihong. Lin Hong and the other two were slightly taken aback and followed. However, their gazes were filled with astonishment, because just now, that man seemed to be holding on to Madame Zi Yuan's hand. Zishan had chosen an open plain. Right now, Yihong was feeling a little dizzy. He who does not have the strength to fly at such a high speed would not be able to withstand it, and his nose was already bleeding. Seeing that Yihong's nose was bleeding, Zishan used her sleeves to wipe it off. Right now, it was the posture of a woman hugging a man. Yihong, who was lying in Zishan's embrace, opened her eyes in a daze, then looked at Zishan's chest and muttered, "So big, so round." Zishan, if this had happened more than a month ago, Yihong would have no impression of him at all. Perhaps he would have really left just like that. Yihong seemed to have woken up, and when she saw that she was actually lying in Zishan's embrace, she immediately left Zishan's embrace and explained, "I'm sorry, I didn't do it on purpose." That's right, Yihong had always been very polite and courteous to Zishan. However, he was also very concerned about Zishan. It's just that his EQ is a little low. This is giving Zishan a headache. Forget it. Zishan said indifferently. Yihong heaved a sigh of relief. This person was about to leave. She couldn't leave a bad impression. "Zishan, will you return?" Yihong asked weakly. Zishan really wanted to learn from Big Brother Green and slap the back of Yihong's head. Yihong actually dared to ask such a stupid question. Without waiting for Zishan to reply, Lin Hong and the other two rushed to the scene, then knelt down on one knee and shouted out, subordinates Lin Hong, San Chi, and Li Li greet Madame Zi Yuan. Yi Hong looked at the three people in front of her. Are these the people who are on Zi Shan's side? My mood is very disappointed. Stand up. Right now, Zi Shan was emitting out a noble aura, as if she had turned into a high and mighty deity. This caused Yi Hong to be unable to differentiate which one was the real Zi Shan. Lin Hong and the other two stood up and stared at Yi Hong. San Chi shouted out sternly, audacious. Madame Zi Yuan is not someone a lowly person like you can touch. Right now, Yi Hong was still holding on to Zi Shan's small hand. Hearing that San Chi had shouted out for her to stop, Yi Hong let out a sigh and let go of Zi Shan. This wasn't because she was scared by San Chi, rather, she was reminded by San Chi that it was time for her to let go of Zi Shan's hand. Although it hasn't been 2 months, but every single day was much happier than before. Eating the food that Zi Shan cooked, watching Zi Shan's figure that was busy in the kitchen, was a kind of happiness. This made Yi Hong realize what love was. It was very sweet but also very sour. Lin Hong said respectfully, Madame Zi Yuan, His Highness is summoning you back. Zi Shan took a deep breath. It seemed like she had made some kind of decision. The kind of life that she had in the past was not what she wanted. Call me Zi Shan. Lin Hong and the other two were slightly startled, not understanding what Madame Zi Yuan meant. Tell Prince Ho that I won't go back. Zi Shan's following words made Lin Hong and the other two dumbfounded. Yi Hong was shocked. Her mouth was agape in disbelief. Could it be that she was deaf? Just a moment ago, Zi Shan said that she wasn't going back. Chapter 387. Of course, there was another possibility, and that was, fortune favors fools. This was something that could not be solved. Up until now, within Yi Hua's entire subordinate group, there were only 3 people who had good luck. The first one was Death Mage. With his skeleton body, he was able to flirt with a big sister. Furthermore, there was even a language barrier. Yi Hua didn't even understand how Death Mage managed to flirt with Sun Fang. Yi Hua imagined that if he were to reveal his true body in front of Qin Ye and Dong Wang Baiji, the 2 women would definitely roll their eyes and faint. The second is Zhu Tian. His luck is also very good, because he has a woman that everyone wants to bully, Dongfang Yuer. After all, with Dongfang Yuan's looks, coupled with her delicate demeanor, she was truly a beauty. However, only Absolute Heaven could bully her. Hence, it could be said that Absolute Heaven was also a lucky person. The third lucky person would naturally be Yi Hong. The difference in status between him and Zi Shan was obvious. Although Zi Shan was being restricted by Yi Hua, Zi Shan wasn't afraid in the slightest. At most, she would just die. However, under Yi Hong's care and consideration, Zi Shan seemed to have gradually fallen for Yi Hong. In actuality, ever since that day when Zi Shan died, Zi Shan had begun to slowly fall for Yi Hong. Because this was the first time she had seen a man go crazy for her. That kind of feeling was something that she had never experienced before. Yi Hong had used her sincerity to move Zi Shan, while Absolute Heaven and Death Mage had used brute force to subdue Zi Shan. There was a difference between the two. Let's talk about the unluckiest. Of course, it was the Supreme Overlord Yi Hua. The reason why Yi Hua was unlucky was because his luck was too good, to have met 2 women that he couldn't afford to offend. Of course, Yi Hua liked the 2 of them. If not, why would he pamper them so much? Even if they were separated right now, wasn't this another kind of pampering? However, looking at the way things were going, Yi Hua planned to create the most compassionate team. You're thinking too much. Lin Hong's eyes were filled with killing intent as he shouted, Madame Zi Yuan, please pay attention to your manners. You are smearing Marquis Wang Ye's reputation. Yi Hong placed Zi Shan down. Now that Zishan wasn't leaving, Yihong naturally wouldn't let her go. All of you listen to me, Zishan isn't leaving anymore, all of you quickly go back to sleep. Yihong shouted. Sanchi shouted angrily, where did this come from? To actually speak such arrogant words and even take advantage of Madame Ziyuan, I think that you are tired of living. Zishan pulled Yihong behind her. After all, Yihong did not have any strength right now, and they would be able to kill Yihong with just a single strand of her hair. Go back and tell Lord Ho that our fate has come to an end. Tell him to take care of himself. Lin Hong asked gravely, Madame Ziyuan. You have to think carefully, the consequences of what you are doing right now is very serious, if this matter were to reach Marquis Wang Ye's ears. Lin Hong, you don't need to explain, I know, but I also want to give Prince a word of advice, there is always someone better out there, don't act recklessly. Right now, Zishan also seemed to have the intention of hugging onto Yihua's thigh. With Yihua here, there is no need for us to be afraid of any marquis or princes. Even if someone from the royal family comes, there is no need for us to be afraid. Lin Hong sighed, he turned his palm, and a huge black blade appeared in his hand, while Sanchi had a long whip in her hand, and Lili had a pair of sharp claws in his hand. These three weapons were all ancient godly equipment. Prince Ho has ordered me to bring Madame Ziyuan back. Pardon me for offending you. Go. After finished speaking, Lin Hong leaped high into the air, and the huge blade slashed towards Zishan. A huge godly might was emitting out from the blade, and Zishan's beautiful hair fluttered wildly as she slightly raised her head. A ribbon drilled out from Zishan's sleeve and emitted out a greenish-white colored glazed light, looking very beautiful in the night sky. Bang! The two actually let out a metallic clashing sound, and a huge shockwave exploded out from the center of Yihong's heart. The shockwave was deafening. Although Yihong, who had turned into an ordinary person, was protected by Zishan, blood was already flowing out from his ears, and his eyes were bloodshot. This kind of pressure was not something that an ordinary person could experience. Sanchi and Lili, who were at the back, immediately joined the battle, and Zishan did not dare to be careless. These three could be considered as Lord Ho's capable subordinates, and their battle strength was not ordinary. They were still able to fight one-on-one, but to fight one against three, they would not be able to handle it. Yihong also knew that he was a burden, so he quickly ran away. Don't give Zishan any trouble, or go back and call Big Brother over. Looking at Yihong, who was running away, Lin Hong shouted out to Sanchi, capture that man. Yes. Seeing that Sanchi was going to capture Yihong, Zishan hurriedly went to stop Sanchi. However, Lili directly intercepted Sanchi, and with Lin Hong restraining Sanchi, Zishan could only watch as Sanchi captured Yihong. With a hostage in their hands, Lin Hong and Lili both stopped. Let him go. Looking at Sanchi, who was strangling Yihong's neck, Zishan's beautiful eyes became bloodshot, and the pressure that Zishan released from her body gradually rose. Lin Hong said faintly, I can let him go, but you have to go back with us and report to us. All right, I'll go back with you all. Zishan agreed without even thinking. Chapter 388. I know what you mean. Zishan's tears were like a broken dam. In her entire life, Zishan had never shed so many tears before, and today, she actually shed tears for an ordinary person. Yihong laughed foolishly about that. I hid my money behind your dressing table. Originally, I wanted to save it for your birthday, but it seems like I won't be able to use it anymore. However, even if I won't be able to use it, you still have to keep it for yourself. In the past, Big Brother often cheated money from me, although I know that it was for my own good. Isn't my joke funny? Let's change it to another joke then. Yihong, don't say any more. Along with the huge blade in Lin Hong's hand trembling, Yihong spurted out a mouthful of blood and powerlessly looked at Zishan. He didn't even have the strength to tell a joke to make Zishan happy. Lin Hong said gravely, "Madam Ziyuan, Prince Ho will definitely be very angry." After finished speaking, Lin Hong swung the huge blade in his hand, and Yi Hong's body fiercely smashed onto the ground, smashing out a dent. As an ordinary person, how could Yi Hong possibly withstand such power? Yi Hong, who was deeply embedded into the ground, no longer had any trace of life. He opened his eyes, and his eyes were filled with reluctance. However, there was still a trace of a smile on the corner of his mouth. He thought that with this kind of action, Zishan wouldn't feel so sad anymore. Zishan looked at Yi Hong, who was not far away from her. Yi Hong's tears had already stopped flowing, and her beautiful face seemed exceptionally calm. However, raging flames of anger were burning deep within her beautiful eyes. "Lin Hong, not only will Ho Xuelin be angry, I will be very angry as well." Zishan slowly turned her head around and stared at Lin Hong with her beautiful eyes. She emitted out a cold aura, giving off a feeling that there was nothing left to live for. Lin Hong said with a smile, "Madam Ziyuan, I know that you are very angry, but this spirit-binding rope is not a toy." Zishan laughed lightly. "Let's give it a try then." In an instant, dense killing intent emitted out from Zishan's beautiful face. The killing intent was like a raging wave, surging and surging, just like tens of thousands of ferocious horses charging forward at the same time. Mixed within the killing intent was her longing for Yi Hong. Without Yi Hong's unique care, what meaning would there be? Boom, boom, boom. Bursts of thunder rang out in the sky, causing one's ears to ring. The spiritual energy in the world gathered towards Zishan, forming a vortex. The air seemed as if it was going to boil, and Zishan was like a dazzling sun that was emitting out the spiritual energy in the world. A huge blood net appeared behind Zishan once again. The blood net emitted a ghostly aura, and the form of the blood net was constantly changing. This caused Lin Hong and the other two to be unable to help but take a step back. This Madame Ziyuan actually managed to make a breakthrough amidst her grief. "Let's go." As expected, Lin Hong gave the order. Zishan, who had just broken through, was killing them like killing chickens. Zishan shouted, "You want to leave? Leave your life here." Under Zishan's powerful pressure, the spirit-binding rope shook violently and instantly turned into specks of starlight. As for the blood net behind Zishan, it actually materialized. With a ghostly wail and wolf howl, it attacked the three of them. Sanchi and Lili looked at each other, their eyes showing determination. "Brother Lin. Leave." "Brother Lin, Lili can't follow you anymore." Sanchi and Lili knew that if they didn't make a sacrifice, the three of them wouldn't be able to leave. Lin Hong turned his head to look at his subordinates that had always followed him, but now was not the time to be pretentious. "Your vengeance, Marquis Wang Yi will naturally take revenge." The two of them smiled and looked at the incoming blood net. Dark Wolf Fist. Heaven Sealing Demon. Lili and Sanchi used their strongest technique at the same time. Green and golden radiance flickered in the air. The radiance was dazzling and beautiful, and the radiance brought along a huge destructive power as they attacked towards the blood net. However, when the radiance came into contact with the blood net, it was actually devoured alive. However, the radiance was only able to resist for 1 second. Although the radiance was only able to resist for 1 second, it was enough for Lin Hong to return to Heaven's mansion and report what happened today. The two of them turned their heads around and took a look, then let out a sigh of relief. Brother Lin has finally returned. Sanchi and Lili looked at the conversation between the two of them and smiled, then bumped fists together. "In our next life, we will still be good brothers." Good brothers. There were no living beings within the blood net. In an instant, Sanchi and Lili were devoured, not even a bit of them remained. The blood net in the air gradually disappeared as well. Zishan coughed out a mouthful of blood. The huge burden on Zishan's body caused Zishan to feel indescribable pain. However, compared to Yi Hong's pain, Zishan's pain was nothing. Dragging her heavy body, Zishan arrived in front of Yi Hong. Right now, only by rushing back can Yi Hong be saved. After all, even I managed to survive last time, let alone Yi Hong. While carrying on to Yi Hong, Zishan disappeared from the scene. Within the villa's living room, Yi Hua was eating the grapes that his sister-in-law peeled. I feel that the grapes taste pretty good. This sister-in-law of mine can be developed into a subordinate. Your Honor, aren't you going to go and take a look? Wei Chang asked carefully. Yi Hua took out a stick of cigarette and lit it up, then said indifferently, this Zishan shouldn't be leaving. Let the two of them go out and strengthen their relationship. Chapter 389. Kill deities. The more you kill, the more you will be able to gather. Yi Hua made a grabbing motion with his palm and grabbed onto the dragon rebel's sword that was lying at the side, then tossed it over to Zishan. Then he said, Wei Chang, help treat her. Yes. A black fog came out from Wei Chang's palm. Zishan knew that this was not an ordinary thing. She took a deep breath and slowly closed her beautiful eyes. After a while, Zishan suddenly opened her eyes. Her pupils were incomparably pitch black. She could feel the power in her body, and she felt as if she could split apart the entire heavenly palace. Go quickly and return quickly. Yi Hua said faintly. Yes. After finished speaking, Zishan disappeared from the villa. After Zishan left, Yi Hua said towards Wei Chang, save him, he looks really uncomfortable. All right, Your Honor. Wei Chang smiled. Wei Chang indeed looked awkward. He threw out another ball of black mist. After Yi Hong, who was lying on the ground, breathed it in, her face gradually turned rosy. In less than a minute, he immediately opened his eyes and asked, where did Zishan go? Big Brother Green slapped onto the ground, why aren't you thanking His Honor for saving you, fool? Yi Hong hurriedly kowtowed and thanked His Honor. His Honor is too good to me. Not only did His Honor give me strength, His Honor even saved me, and even gave me such a good wife. As long as His Honor says the word, I will be willing to go through fire and water. Yi Hua walked to the sofa and said faintly, wait for your wife to come back, at that time, remember to play dead. Big Brother Green told Yi Hong about what happened just now, and after Yi Hong heard about it, she felt extremely touched. So, Zishan actually likes me. Yu Tong, peel an orange. Brother-in-law, you ate too much food that starts a fire. Qing Yutong pouted. Let's go and cut a watermelon then. After eating this watermelon, Zishan should be back by then. Qing Yutong is really convinced, coming to my little brother's house to eat and drink to his heart's content, he is too stingy. Just now, Yi Hua was indeed in a bad mood, and he wanted to directly go over and kill the other party. However, after he calmed down, he felt that it would be better to let Zishan go. After all, it is time for me to settle this matter. At this time, the Marquis Palace was brightly lit. The birthday banquet was obviously not over yet, but all the important figures had left. After all, they had seen this kind of occasion many times. For example, Wu Man and Che Hongliang had both left. It had to be said that these two people were very lucky. They walked really fast. Ho Shuolin sat on the main seat, admiring the dance of the young ladies. He was thinking about where to sleep today. They saw Lin Hong running over in a panic. Everyone looked at the guard's panicked expression and were puzzled. Did something happen? Ho Shuolin frowned slightly. He rarely saw Lin Hong like this. Arriving beside Prince Ho, Lin Hong lowered his body and said softly, Prince Ho, we have found Madame Zi Yuan, just that, but what? Ho Shuolin was a little excited. he couldn't be dead, right? Lin Hong said gravely, Madame Zi Yuan already has a man outside. Hearing those words, Ho Shuolin suddenly laughed coldly. His lips twitched as he clenched his fists tightly. A terrifying godly might burst forth from him, completely uncontrollable. The dignified Marquis Wang Ye had been cuckolded. If this matter were to spread out, would he still have any face left? The guests below also felt Ho Wang Ye's anger. Something big must have happened. Just when everyone was feeling puzzled, a beautiful figure suddenly walked out slowly. My God, this is Madame Zi Yuan. Is this Madame Zi Yuan? She is truly beautiful. Even a sky immortal is only so, her figure is truly wonderful. Prince Ho sure is fortunate to have such a beautiful wife. If I had such a beautiful wife, I wouldn't even take a second step out of my house. That's because you guys have never seen Qingye and Baizhi before. They are the true beauties. At the very least, they are a grade higher than Zishan. Just by looking at them, one would have a physiological reaction. However, very quickly, someone noticed the bloodstain on Madame Zi Yuan's dress, the dragon rebel's sword in her hand, and that faint killing intent. Ho Shuolin stared fixedly at Zishan, who was walking over, and a burst of viciousness immediately erupted from his body. Damned woman. You still have the face to come back. Zishan silently looked at that sinister and ugly face, and suddenly realized that Yi Hong was thousands of times better than him. If it wasn't for him sending people down, Yi Hong wouldn't have died. Today, I am going to kill you, shameless woman, and use your head as a sacrifice to the heavens. Ho Shuolin no longer concealed his strength, and immediately, a boundless godly might burst forth from him. Everyone's expression became greatly startled. Has this Prince Ho gone mad? Killing his wife in front of everyone's eyes? Zishan said coldly, I am going to use your head as a sacrifice to the heavens for my love. Hearing that, everyone sucked in a mouthful of cold air. No wonder Prince Ho is so angry, so it turns out that Zishan has a man outside. And now, she is even more arrogant, she is truly too daring. Prince. I will lend you a helping hand. Prince, I will come as well. This kind of woman should be hacked into pieces. I will come as well. I hate women who cheat on me the most. Shoo, your highness is listening. Zishan snorted coldly, then shook the dragon rebel's sword in her hand and immediately raised it up. A thin silver thread appeared in the air. Chapter 390. Why don't I take a look at your hand first? Zishan said in a light voice, and her tone was completely emotionless. Ho Shuolin looked at the hand that was holding the sword. A neat line of blood emerged from the skin, and the middle finger and ring finger began to split apart. Ho Shuolin could only watch helplessly as his arms separated. No, this is impossible. Shock appeared in Ho Shuolin's eyes as he looked at Zishan, who was not far away from him. Suddenly, he felt that his neck was a little cold, as if it was moving, and the world in front of him had become crooked. Who is this person in front of me? Why didn't it have a head? Blood sprayed into the sky like a fountain and then fell down. Ho Shuolin wanted to wipe the liquid off his face, but it was useless. Not right, this person's clothes in front of me looks like me. No, this is not possible, Marquis. Lin Hong exclaimed. Ho Shuolin's eyeballs were still moving. Since he was still alive, it could be seen that it was not so easy for a god to die. Take me away. Lin Hong hurriedly held onto Ho Shuolin's head and quickly fled the scene. However, just when he turned around, he saw Zishan. Zishan raised the dragon rebel sword high up and slashed down. The entire world seemed to have fallen silent. Ho Shuolin was once again split into two halves. Lin Hong directly exploded on the spot, but Ho Shuolin still had a primordial spirit. Zishan made a grabbing motion in the air, and the primordial spirit that was charging forward seemed to have been sucked in, and it went straight towards Zishan's small hand. "You shameless bitch, what else do you want?" A series of shouts resounded from the primordial spirit. Zishan did not say anything. She gradually increased the strength of her left hand. Ho Xiaolin panicked. "Zishan. What are you trying to do? Stop. Zishan. In any case, we are husband and wife. A day as husband and wife means 100 days of love." Zishan said coldly, "There is no gratitude between us, there is only hatred." Bang! Zishan directly destroyed Ho Xiaolin's primordial spirit. Rich people were indeed willful. Did they not know how awesome it was to refine a primordial spirit? He looked at the container. He didn't expect Ho Xiaolin to raise the price by a third. But this scene scared the people below. Prince Ho was one of the top 10 masters, but his spirit was crushed by his own wife. This was too cruel. Furthermore, the ancient divine artifact on the ground was directly cut into two. What kind of weapon could have such great power? This wasn't a woman at all. This was a demoness, a female bandit. A female demon who kills without blinking an eye. In order to save Yihong, Zishan was willing to fall into depravity. Yihong had saved Zishan twice. Zishan understood this kindness. Zishan was not a cold-blooded person, and she was touched by Yihong's tenacity. You have to learn from Yihong if you want to woo a girl. Actually, you can see how good you are to her. As long as you break through her last line of defense, she will be yours from now on. Just like the current Zishan, her heart had already followed Yihong. For Yihong, she had even started a massacre here and bathed the entire prince's mansion in blood. After a long while, when Zishan saw that the container was filled with blood, she let out a sigh of relief. Then, Zishan swept her gaze across the surroundings, and saw that there were corpses everywhere. Fresh blood flowed on the bluestone. Not a single person was left alive. After finishing everything, Zishan disappeared from the prince's mansion. However, not long after Zishan disappeared, a large group of people rushed out of the imperial palace and headed towards the prince's mansion. Not only the imperial palace, but there were also people rushing over from all directions. In the dark night, the long line of candles was very easy to recognize. Several groups of people rushed to the entrance of the prince's mansion. Looking at the entire prince's mansion, the smell of blood soared to the sky, and countless wronged souls were screaming and crying. Some of them were Wu Ma An's people, and some were Che Hongliang's people. As for the people who rushed over from the imperial palace, it was the current crown prince, Zhu Jingqing. The crown prince had a dignified appearance and elegant demeanor. His facial features were not a problem at all. If one were to take a look at him, he would indeed be a character. However, Wu Ma knew that the crown prince was actually very dissolute. In the past, he even tried to snatch Zishan from the prince. Unfortunately, he was a Prince Ho, and even the crown prince did not dare to directly snatch Zishan. After all, Prince Ho and His Majesty were sworn brothers. Greetings, Your Highness the Crown Prince. Greetings, Your Highness the Crown Prince. Wu Ma'an and Che Hongliang respectfully greeted. Crown Prince Zhu Jingqing looked towards the prince's mansion and said with a grave expression, "This crown prince felt a blood light soaring to the sky from the imperial palace, and when I looked around, it was actually the prince's mansion. This crown prince was worried, so I specially brought my personal guards to check it out." Wu Ma'an jumped down from his horse, kneeled on one knee, and said, "Your Highness the Crown Prince worries about the subjects and the people, you are my role model." Upon seeing that, Che Hongliang could only get down from his horse and kneel on one knee. After all, he was the Crown Prince. However, all of the guards kneeled on one knee. Zhu Jingqing enjoyed this moment very much. he was being supported by everyone. They had clearly come to check on the Prince Ho's mansion, but in the end, they had turned into flattery, and the souls inside were still screaming. All of you, get up. Thank you, Crown Prince. Zhu Jingqing patted the unicorn he was riding on. The unicorn's snow-white fur looked very unique among the group, and it was obvious that he was the boss. Guards! Go and take a look at what is happening inside. Zhu Jingqing shouted gravely. 2 guards replied, then ran to the Prince Ho's mansion's entrance and opened the door. Boom! A blood light actually rushed out from within the Prince Ho's mansion, causing everyone to jump in fright, and the Crown Prince almost fell down from his horse. Roar! Roar! The blood light transformed into a human face that was screaming non-stop, and there were even more human faces inside the human face. However, the blood light seemed to be unable to rush out of the Prince Ho's mansion, as if it was imprisoned inside. Perhaps even Zishan didn't know about the passive ability of the Dragon Rebel Sword, and that passive ability was able to imprison the souls of the dead, thus achieving the effect of torture. There were countless deaths and injuries in the Prince Ho's mansion, and all of the souls that died had turned into blood light. This kind of thing was extremely rare, it was something that would only happen once in 1,000 years. Che Hongliang looked at the human face that was screaming in front of him and mumbled, "This is blood light." After Che Hongliang finished speaking, everyone's expression sunk, even Wu Ma An's expression was the same. Only Zhu Jingqing had a puzzled expression on his face. What the hell is this blood light? Wu Ma An, tell me what this crimson glow is. Zhu Jingqing asked. Wu Ma An hurriedly kneeled on the ground and begged for forgiveness. Your Highness, you absolutely cannot tell me this. Zhu Jingqing snorted coldly, what do you not dare to tell me? Just tell me what I am telling you. But, there is no but. Wu Ma An looked towards Che Hongliang, and the latter turned his face away. The Crown Prince is telling you to tell me, not me. Hurry up. Do you want me to punish you for your crimes? Wu Ma An hurriedly said, Your Highness, when the blood light appears, the country is in trouble. After hearing what Wu Ma An said, Zhu Jingqing went into a daze for a moment, then soon after, he laughed loudly, what bullshit is this? Just a blood light is enough to scare all of you to this extent. Your Highness, this matter concerns the fate of the country, it is better for us to report this matter to His Majesty. Che Hongliang suggested. Father has already fallen asleep, how can I, the Crown Prince, not make a decision for such a small matter? Men, follow me inside and take a look at the situation. After finished speaking, Zhu Jingqing jumped off the horse, pulled out his sword, and took the lead. The sword slashed towards the blood light, and a dazzling golden light emitted out from the tip of the sword, causing the blood light to instantly disperse. Chapter 391. Wu Ma An and Che Hongliang hurriedly followed after him. Not long after, they saw the Crown Prince vomiting at the side. Zhu Jingqing was not the only one vomiting, many soldiers were vomiting as well. Peace had been around for too long, and the soldiers had never seen such a scene. They almost vomited their guts out. When Wu Ma An and Che Hongliang saw this, they could not help but vomit. Looking at the entire front yard, the scene was indescribably tragic. Basically, there were pieces of corpses, and there were no complete corpses. Moreover, the air was filled with a pungent smell of blood, as well as a foul stench. After all, some of the intestines were exposed, and they were all filthy things. Zhu Jingqing couldn't take it anymore and ran outside. Unexpectedly, he stepped on something and tripped. His entire face sunk into a person's stomach. The problem was that the stomach was split open. Your Highness! Your Highness! Immediately, a group of people rushed over. Many people fell to the ground. The blood on the ground was sticky and had a lubricating effect. A few guards helped the Crown Prince up and found that the Crown Prince had fainted. They hurriedly carried him into the palace and summoned the imperial physician. Che Hongliang and Wu Man calmed down a lot, and they silently walked towards the marquis mansion. It turned out that the outside was just an appetizer. The inside was even more terrifying. Who was the one who made this? How inhumane. Old Che, the marquis should be dead. Wu Man said as he pinched his nose. Che Hongliang frowned deeply. Was Master Ho's death an accident or was it intentional? After all, many people benefited from Master Ho's death, such as the Crown Prince's faction and his own faction. Report. Found it. A soldier covered in blood ran over to report. Basically, all the soldiers' armors were stained with blood, which was stained when they turned over the corpses. Che Hongliang said in a deep voice, "Bring him here." When they saw Ho Shuolin's corpse, Wu Ma and Che Hongliang were stunned. They knew Master Ho's strength. At this time, Master Ho was divided into 3 parts. His right hand was connected to his head, and his head was divided into 2. From the looks of the wound, it was very neat, cut by a sharp blade. In the morning, the 3 of them were still discussing problems, but in the evening, their entire family was wiped out. The 2 of them couldn't help but wonder if they would have become one of these corpses if they hadn't returned. The answer was obvious. Not long after, the soldiers found Prince Ho's sword. Che Hongliang and Wu Man knew about this sword. It was an ancient divine weapon. It was not easy to obtain. Marquis Wang Ye's treasured weapon was actually cut in half. Who could have done this? Elder Che, even if His Majesty is resting, you still have to say something. Yes, let's go together. Che Hongliang also knew the seriousness of the matter. The palace was heavily guarded. There were more than 100 buildings of various sizes, but they surrounded the largest palace in the center like guards. However, this night was different from the past. There were many more patrolling soldiers, and the lights in the hall that should have been extinguished were now brightly lit. On both sides of the palace stood solemn-looking guards, all of them armed with swords. According to the rules, guards were not allowed to bring knives into the palace, but the situation today was different. On the throne was a middle-aged man with a dignified appearance. There was a mole at the corner of his mouth, making him look quite unique. He wore a yellow robe and was currently staring downwards. 3 of them were Crown Prince Zhu Xingqing, Wu Man, and Che Hongliang. The last one was Heavenly Teacher, Ying Wei. This was a white-haired old man, holding a long wooden stick in his hand. It looked very rough, as if it was directly chopped down from a tree. However, when this old man held it in his hand, it instantly felt different. Perhaps this was the aura of the old man. Ho Shuolin, who was covered with a white cloth, was also in the hall. The dim light made the atmosphere in the hall very heavy, making it hard for people to breathe. Zhu Qingxian lightly knocked on the dragon head armrest and muttered, "Blood aura." Ying Wei cupped his hands and said, "Your Majesty, the appearance of the blood aura must be guarded against. In order to avoid danger, this official thinks that the imperial hunt should be cancelled." Zhu Qingxian said gravely, "Heavenly Teacher, let's not talk about the hunt for now. First, investigate the cause of Marquis Wang Ye's death. Your Majesty, Marquis Wang Ye was cut into 3 pieces by a sharp blade." Che Hongliang said respectfully. "Open it and let me take a look." Zhu Xingqing said hurriedly, "Father, Marquis Wang Ye died a miserable death, or Crown Prince, according to the order of seniority, you still have to call him uncle. Even I have to call him big brother." "Father, you are right." Wu Man bowed and lifted the white cloth. Although the white cloth had been pieced together, the mark was still there. Everyone couldn't help but frown. When Zhu Qingxian saw Ho Shuolin's corpse, he immediately let out a sigh of relief. "It's great that he died." "That's right. In the past, they used to address each other as brothers, but this Ho Shuolin relied on his powerful strength and didn't even put the imperial family in his eyes. Furthermore, he had a lot of small tricks up his sleeves. If one day, Ho Shuolin were to usurp the throne, Zhu Qingxian wouldn't be too surprised. Where is Marquis Wang Ye's primordial spirit? Father, Marquis Wang Ye's primordial spirit has dissipated. I sensed this fluctuation and woke up from my bed. I went to check on the situation. Zhu Jingqing could be considered to be smart, he seemed to want to take all the credit for himself. Zhu Qingxian said faintly, Crown Prince, you did well. Che Hongliang slightly frowned. Although this Zhu Jingqing looks very unrestrained and unrestrained, he is still very smart at times like this. Did you find out who the murderer is? Is it a man or a woman? Is it tall or thin? Zhu Qingxian asked, but he was just putting on a show. He really wanted to reward the murderer. You did a good deed and helped me get rid of a great threat. Ying Wei said respectfully, judging from the strength and viciousness of the murderer, it should be a man, and he was also holding a special blade. Celestial teacher is right, but is there no one left alive in the whole palace? Zhu Qingxian asked curiously. Father, today is Marquis Wang Ye's birthday. There are many guests present, including Marquis Wang Ye's family. None of them survived. Zhu Qingxian sighed and murmured, for thousands of years, there has never been such a tragedy in heaven's sanctum. We must get to the bottom of this. Yes. Also, bury Marquis Wang Ye properly. After all, he was my big brother. Yes. Wu Ma cupped his hands and said, Your Majesty, Marquis Wang Ye is already dead. The realm under his jurisdiction cannot be left unguarded. Che Hongliang hurriedly said. However, Zhu Jingqing was even faster. Father, I am willing to take over temporarily. I will wait for you to find a suitable candidate before handing it over. Che Hongliang cursed at his shamelessness and hurriedly said, Your Majesty, His Highness the Crown Prince already has a realm under his jurisdiction. I am afraid that His Highness the Crown Prince is overworking himself. Chapter 392. Wu Ma admired the Crown Prince. The Crown Prince really knows how to speak. Zhu Qingxian smiled faintly and said, Father Emperor is very happy that the Crown Prince has such a thought. Prince Ho's plane will be temporarily handed over to the Crown Prince to look after, and we will choose another candidate in the future. Che Hongliang almost fainted from anger. Temporarily. Isn't this the same as giving the plane to someone else? Choosing another candidate, this is completely perfunctory. At this time, Ying Wei said again, Your Majesty, this hunt. Heavenly Teacher, you are making a big fuss over a small matter. Furthermore, the Huang family's hunt is a big matter for the entire royal family. Which year has it been missing? If it's missing this year, what will the people below talk about it? They will even say that I was scared to the point of trembling in the palace. Is it about this blood-red glow? Heavenly Teacher spoke again. This caused Zhu Qingxian to be a bit unhappy. Heavenly Teacher, these are all legends. But, alright, we will stop here for today, everyone can disperse. Zhu Qingxian waved his hand and shouted. This Ho Shuolin is dead, and you want me to not celebrate? Seeing the Emperor turn around and leave, Ying Wei let out a deep sigh. I would rather believe in the blood-red glow. Your Highness the Crown Prince, everyone, we have to persuade His Majesty about this blood-red glow. Ying Wei cupped his hands towards the three people and said politely. Zhu Jingqing knew that Father Emperor thought highly of Heavenly Teacher, so he greeted him with a smile. Heavenly Teacher is too serious, I will definitely pass on the message. Then I will have to trouble Your Highness the Crown Prince. Ying Wei gradually started to be satisfied with this Crown Prince's attitude. Zhu Jingqing smiled. After everyone dispersed, Wu Ma smiled, Congratulations, Crown Prince, for obtaining His Majesty's appreciation and obtaining the right to rule over the plane. This is just a small matter, I can easily get it done. Zhu Jingqing smiled in disdain. Fight with me, whoever comes will die. Crown Prince is truly right. Wu Man praised. The more power the Crown Prince has, the better. Zhu Jingqing placed his hands behind his back and said, Go and make arrangements, we will go and find that Nuo's descendant in a few days. I heard that Nuo's descendant has a peerless appearance and innate strength, I am truly envious. Yes. Zhu Jingqing strode towards his bedroom, mumbling to himself, I wonder what kind of peerless beauties are in that plane. Wu Man heard all of this and bitterly smiled. If the Crown Prince focused on governing, he would definitely be very outstanding. In Long and City's villa. Yi Hua said faintly, They're here. Yi Hong lay down with a thud. Her face was as pale as a corpse. Qing Yutong was helpless. It was clearly a good thing, but in the end, because of her brother-in-law's actions, it became as if Yi Hong was trying to deceive Zishan. If Zishan were to find out that Yi Hong was deceiving Zishan, Yi Hong would have to blow up the matter. It was one thing for him to lie to his elder sister, but he still had to teach his subordinate. He was speechless. Zishan's body appeared in the living room. Zishan hurriedly walked in front of Yi Hua, then bent down and presented the container and dragon rebel sword to Yi Hua. Your Honor, everything is done. Yi Hua took a look at the blood qi within the container. This woman, when she starts being vicious and merciless, she is simply inhumane. She is even more savage than me. After keeping the dragon rebel sword, Yi Hua said faintly, Pour this blood qi into his mouth. Zishan hurriedly stood up and carried Yi Hong, who was stiff all over, then poured her blood qi into Yi Hong's body. Yi Hong was also very cooperative, and her body gradually became ruddy. When Zishan saw the change in Yi Hong, she felt that everything was worth it, and 2 streams of tears rolled down her cheeks. Yi Hong slowly opened her eyes, and when she saw Zishan, a sincere smile appeared on her face. On the other hand, Zishan appeared to be a lot more unrestrained. In front of so many people, Zishan directly kissed Yi Hong's mouth. This was domineering. Looking at Uncle Wei, Tang Wei also felt envious in her heart. Uncle Wei doesn't even know how to kiss right now. Qing Yutong could not help but sigh. Even the cola is being poked by someone, why is there no one poking me? Do you believe that I won't order you to break up immediately and never see each other again? Let's go, let's return. Yi Hua said gravely. Your Honor, I will send you back. Wei Chang hurriedly followed after Wei Chang. Green and Red brothers, Dai and Zishan shouted out respectfully, Farewell, Your Honor. After his honor left, Yi Hong felt a bit embarrassed, and she didn't even dare to look straight at Zishan. Right now, the two of them were no longer bound by the shackles, and Yi Hong had also pierced through the layer of paper. Of course, there was still the final layer of paper that was not pierced through. Big Brother Green said with a smile, I'm going to sleep, you guys do as you please, but keep your voice down. Yi Hong's face reddened as she scratched onto the back of her head and said, That. I'm going to take a bath first. I'll get the hot water for you. No need, I can get the hot water myself. Yi Hong didn't dare to let Zishan do anything else. Walking into the bedroom, Yi Hong finished taking a bath while feeling nervous. Yi Hong discovered that Zishan was actually already lying on the bed. Right now, without the restriction of distance, they are able to sleep in separate rooms. Yi Hua thought to himself that Zishan might have gotten used to sleeping on the bed. I'm going to sleep on the other side. Chapter 393. After getting down from Wei Chang's luxurious Qian, Qing Yutong held onto Yi Hua's arm and said with a smile, Brother-in-law, you are pretty good as a matchmaker, why don't you pay attention to your own matters? Sai, let's go to Zhu Tian's place tomorrow to freeload a meal. While we're at it, we can also go and ask how the progress is. It has already been more than a month. Yihua took out a stick of cigarette and lit it up. It has already been a month since we last met, and I am indeed starting to miss Zhu Tian a bit. Qin Yutong said tenderly, brother-in-law, since you want to go and take a look, why don't you go and take a look at the child? Hearing his sister-in-law's suggestion, Yihua's eyes lit up. This is indeed a good idea. However, he quickly denied it. If he appeared, wouldn't that mean that he had lost? That wouldn't do. Not going. Fine, I've already said this many times, but brother-in-law, you're the one who doesn't listen. The two of them walked into the leisure bar. There was actually not a single customer inside. The business was already extremely bad. Yihua said gravely, there are 4 people who skipped work tonight, Wei Chang, Tang Wei, the Green and Red brothers. 200 from each of you. Qing Yutong was speechless. You are a supreme overlord, and right now, you are even swindling your little brother's money. On the evening of the second day, Yihua brought along his sister-in-law and arrived at Zijin University. Afterward, Yihua went to look for Zhu Tian. Zhu Tian brought his honor to the teacher's dormitory. Yihua sized up the room, and the room was even smaller than the room that I live in. Zhu Tian, what are you going to eat tonight? Yihua asked absent-mindedly. Zhu Tian stood at the side and said respectfully, Your Honor, instant noodles. Yihua, Qin Yutong, Zhu Tian thought that his honor was worried about his food and drink, thus he hurriedly said, Your Honor, there are many different flavors of instant noodles, you can be at ease, subordinate won't get tired of eating instant noodles. When did I ask you if you were tired of eating? As the brains of the team, don't you know how to treat a meal? Yihua said gravely, Let's find a place to eat first while we talk. All right, Your Honor, please follow me. As expected of a smart person, his brain worked quite fast. 10 minutes later, Yihua sat on the small stool and looked at the claypot rice in front of him, and the corner of his mouth twitched slightly. Qin Yutong looked at Zhu Tian, then looked at his bowl of vegetables. He had finally found a subordinate who was even more miserable than his brother-in-law, and it wasn't just an ordinary kind of misery. Zhu Tian was also very embarrassed to actually bring his honor to such a small place for a meal. Zhu Tian hurriedly explained, Your Honor, Yan Axayan recently had a falling out with her family, and all of her funds were cut off. I am very optimistic about you. Yihua continued, with an expression of I am very optimistic about you. However, if you want money, sorry, I don't have a single cent. Zhu Tian was terrified. Subordinate understands, subordinate will definitely do my best to solve this problem. That's more like it. Eat more, this meal is free. Qin Yutong, after finishing eating, Zhu Tian touched his pocket, and his expression changed, Your Honor, I forgot to bring my wallet. Check WeChat. Yihua said faintly. Your Honor, I don't have WeChat yet. Qin Yutong was already crying from laughing while hiding at the side. Brother-in-law came to freeload a meal, and in the end, he was freeloaded by his subordinate. As expected of a smart person. Yihua nearly flipped out, and when Zhu Tian felt his honor's ice-cold gaze, he was so scared that he started trembling. I really forgot to bring my wallet, I didn't do it on purpose. After checking WeChat, Yihua said coldly, Yutong, let's go. Your Honor, take care. Zhu Tian said in a low voice. Looking at his honor leaving, Zhu Tian let out a sigh of relief. Luckily, I didn't get my salary today. However, after coming to Zijin City, Yihua would naturally bring his sister-in-law to taste the snacks of Zijin City. Inside Ji family's ruins, 5 figures appeared. Of course, they were Crown Prince Zhu Xingqing and his lackey Wu Man. The other 3 men were very strange, their height was exactly the same. They looked exactly the same, in any case, they looked exactly the same. The triplets were experts that Zhu Xingqing subdued. Originally, Zhu Xingqing wanted to bring more people with him just in case. However, after thinking about it, I am already an unrivaled existence in this low-level plane, let alone experts like these. I am being too careful. Stepping on the ruins, Zhu Xingqing said mockingly, this is one of Prince Ho's 3 big shots. This is how he looks like. What a weakling. Wu Ma An's mind was still considered to be nimble. Sensing that there was a faint godly might in this place, Wu Ma An reminded, Your Highness Crown Prince, there is still a godly might remaining in this place. Chapter 394. Crown Prince, for His Highness to be able to make deities release their divine might, he must have met his match. As the Crown Prince's military advisor, Wu Ma An was smart enough to guess this. However, the Crown Prince only knew how to bootlick, or perhaps he only knew how to be greedy. Zhu Xingqing snorted coldly, that means your skills are inferior. Your Highness, it's possible that the person who killed the Lord's mansion is hiding in this plane. The more Wu Ma An thought about it, the more scared he became. He wanted to persuade the Crown Prince to leave immediately. Zhu Xingqing glared at Wu Ma An and shouted, Who the hell are you? Wu Ma An was so frightened that he immediately knelt down. Of course it's His Highness the Crown Prince's men. That's it. This Ho Xuelin was still hiding the Donghuang clan. He has ulterior motives. Zhu Xingqing saw it when he came over to search. He had to admit that he was a little excited when he saw it. The Donghuang clan had been one of the most powerful beings among all the gods. Of course, there was also the Nuwa clan. It would be great if he could subdue the 2 clans this time. Go! Let's meet the Donghuang clan first. Zhu Xingqing was a little impatient. He had come with the identity of a crown prince, and he could get whatever he wanted. If anyone dared to disobey him, he would kill them. Wu Ma An reminded in a low voice, Crown Prince, if there are any awakened ones in the Eastern Emperor clan, we still have to be careful. That Nuwa clan has already awakened. Zhu Xingqing smiled disdainfully, Wu Ma An, why are you still acting so cowardly in this low-level world? Your Highness, this subordinate has a bad premonition. How about we go back? Zhu Xingqing's eyes turned cold. If you want to go back yourself. Don't appear beside this crown prince in the future. Wu Ma An had no choice but to follow. Right now, Voidless Realm had already regained its former glory, just that, the population of Voidless Realm had to slowly increase. After all, back then, a lot of people had died in that battle. Qingye and Donghuang Baizhi were sitting in the courtyard, and they were actually learning how to knit sweaters. It seemed like he was bored out of his mind. Ollie, come over. Qingye called out tenderly. Donghuang Li ran all the way over to Qingye, then consciously opened up her hands and gestured towards Qingye, go and play. However, before Donghuang Li could even play with it, Donghuang Baizhi shouted out again, Ollie, come here. Donghuang Li felt very helpless. Donghuang Li could only run over to her mother's side and spread out her hands. Alright, go play. Donghuang Li looked at the 2 adults and let out a deep sigh. I wonder if Daddy is that free. Suddenly, Qingye frowned. Qingye, what's wrong? Donghuang Baizhi immediately sensed that Qingye was acting strangely. Someone's coming. It is the same as last time. Qingye said gravely. After finished speaking, she opened her cherry lips and showed Yihua that her mouth was really only so big, I can't stuff it in. Let me help you. Yihua picked up a piece of stinky tofu. Make your mouth bigger, that's right, keep your tongue in, keep your teeth in. After finished speaking, Yihua stuffed the stinky tofu into his mouth. Hold it in your mouth first and feel that tender taste. Isn't it a bit strong? Do you want to bite it in one bite? Don't hesitate then. After Yihua finished speaking, Qing Yutong chewed on the stinky tofu and closed her beautiful eyes. Brother-in-law is right. Looking at his sister-in-law's satisfied look, Yihua nodded his head. Sharing my happiness with others can also make me happy. Just that, not long after, Yihua regretted, because Qing Yutong began snatching to eat the stinky tofu. If I didn't share just now, all the stinky tofu would be mine. Sharing would only invite others to snatch it. Looking at brother-in-law's resentful look, Qing Yutong acted coquettishly and consoled him. Didn't I just eat a few more pieces? Look at how stingy he is. Your Honor, young Honor just sent a secret report. The madams are in trouble. Wei Chang hurriedly contacted His Honor. Hearing that, Yihua's expression sunk. I got it. Seeing that brother-in-law's expression suddenly changed, Qing Yutong knew that something had happened. Brother-in-law, what happened? Something happened to your big sister. After finished speaking, Qing Yutong disappeared along with Qing Yutong. Arriving at Voidless Realm, Wei Chang quickly rushed over. The three of them were in invisible state and did not reveal themselves. Yihua was still very cautious. After all, it was very possible that his daughter had rebelled against him and came to cheat him, her father. However, sensing a few different auras, Yihua knew that his daughter wasn't lying. They were indeed in trouble. Wu Man shouted angrily. As someone from a low-class world, he really didn't have any self-awareness at all. When he saw the crown prince, he still didn't kneel. Yihua was very stingy. This man actually dared to shout at my wife. Yihua said to Wei Chang, record down this man's name. Yes, Your Honor. Qing Yutong rolled her eyes at her brother-in-law. Are you planning to settle the scores after the fall? And you still don't want to let the big sisters know about it? Zhu Jingqing immediately stopped his subordinate and said politely, this one is the Crown Prince of Heaven's Sanctum, Zhu Jingqing. Crown Prince. The hall was in an uproar. The person who came last time claimed to be from the Marquis residence, but today, the Crown Prince actually came. Something big was about to happen. Dong Wang Baiji seemed to have also sensed that the arrival of the Crown Prince was definitely not a good thing. The three men standing behind them were emitting out ferocious aura, and they were very hard to deal with. For what matter did Your Highness Crown Prince come here today? Dong Wang Baiji asked. Those three people must have gone back to inform on Crown Prince. However, what Dong Wang Baiji did not know was that those three people, along with their boss, were all killed in a single night. Zhu Jingqing revealed out a gentle smile. He looked very comfortable, just like a warm man. Yihua said faintly, record down this Zhu Jingqing's name. Qing Yutong clicked her tongue a few times. He is already getting jealous just like this. No wonder Big Sister said that brother-in-law is the king of jealousy in the cultivation world. Zhu Jingqing looked at Dong Huang Baiji who was sitting on the throne. I really want to conquer a woman like this. The process should be very exciting. Shouldn't the Empress grant me a seat? Zhu Jingqing said with a slightly teasing tone. Upon thinking that the other party was the Crown Prince, and that the other party had brought along three valiant generals, in order to protect Voidless Realm, Dong Wang Baiji had no choice but to take a step back. Men, grant me a seat. However, Zhu Jingqing directly sat at the center of the throne, facing the Empress. Audacious! Xing Han shouted out angrily. This kind of behavior was a huge disrespect towards the Empress. You are the audacious one. Wu Man shouted out coldly. To actually speak rudely towards a crown prince of a deity. Zhu Jingqing shouted out gravely, Wu Man, can you not speak? Subordinate obeys. Zhu Jingqing laughed, subordinate is truly sorry, subordinate was lacking in manners. Dong Huang Baiji said gravely, it's fine. But, Your Majesty, your subordinate was lacking in manners as well. To shout at a crown prince like me, in my world, he would be sentenced to death. Zhu Jingqing said faintly. This is a trap. Dong Huang Baiji calculated in her heart. The other party is the Crown Prince of Deity Realm, and he has a huge army under his control. If I were to be disrespectful towards him, I would be inviting a fatal disaster upon myself. At that time, the entire voidless realm would be implicated as well. When one is under the eaves of another, one has no choice but to lower one's head. I apologize to your majesty for my subordinate's disrespectful behavior. Dong Huang Baiji said helplessly. Yihua said faintly, add this Zhu Jingqing's descendant as well. Yes. Hearing what Dong Huang Baiji said, Zhu Jingqing suddenly became enlightened. Because this is a good empress who loves her subordinate. With this, I will be able to endlessly threaten her. Your Majesty, you are being too courteous. We are all family, there is no need for you to apologize. Zhu Jingqing grinned and teased. Yihua said faintly, add his previous generation as well. Yes. Dong Huang Baiji naturally understood the meaning behind Yihua's words and said coldly, Your Majesty, please be a bit more respectful. Your Majesty, I have already respected you enough, don't fail to appreciate my kindness. Zhu Jingqing's eyes revealed out a trace of brilliance. Just what are you trying to do? Dong Huang Baiji, I have been unable to sleep at night recently, and I lack someone to warm my bed. I feel that you are qualified to do so. Zhu Jingqing's words caused Dong Huang Baiji to burn with anger. However, her rationality told her that she mustn't get angry, because if she were to get angry, the entire voidless realm would be buried together with her. Yihua said coldly, remember all 18 generations of this Zhu Jingqing's ancestors. Yes. Qin Yutong wanted to observe a moment of silence for this crown prince who is currently acting cool. Your entire family is already on brother-in-law's death list, they are going to be finished. Dong Huang Baiji said gravely, Your Majesty sure knows how to joke. Your Majesty is smart and quick-witted, you naturally know whether I am joking or not. Since you are so hesitant, I will give you a bit of motivation. Zhu Jingqing waved his hand. One of the triplets could be seen suddenly disappearing. When the triplet reappeared, the triplet had already grabbed onto Xing Han's neck and raised him up high. Don't. Dong Huang Baiji suddenly stood up. Yihua shouted out, that is me. You bunch of salted fishes actually dared to spy on my lovely wife. However, he still endured it. Acting cool was a moment of pleasure, but what about the latter part of the sentence? When Zhu Jingqing heard this answer, he instantly lost his composure. Who? In this world, apart from me, no one else can have beauties like you. Impossible. Dong Huang Baiji stood up, and when the two women stood together, they immediately looked extremely beautiful. Even Wu Man was dazed. Dong Huang Baiji was too beautiful. There was actually such a woman in such a lowly world. No wonder the Marquis wanted to keep it a secret. He probably wanted to enjoy it for himself. Of course there is. Furthermore, in his eyes, you are nothing. Dong Huang Baiji said coldly. With Yihua supporting her, Dong Huang Baiji was very confident. Although they were currently in a cold war, Dong Huang Baiji knew that if something were to happen, Yihua would definitely not sit by and do nothing. Qin Ye added on indifferently, at most, he can be considered as a dried salted fish. Yihua, who was standing at the side, laughed lightly. These two women acting cool together is rather interesting. However, this is good as well. When facing a strong opponent, the two of you will think of me. Audacious. You actually dare to insult His Highness the Crown Prince, and even said that His Highness the Crown Prince is a salted fish. Wu Man took a step forward, pointed his finger at the two women and shouted out. The veins on Zhu Jingqing's forehead bulged out, and because he was angry, his face became red. Ask him to come out and let me have a look at him then. Dong Huang Baiji suddenly laughed, then said, Do you think that my husband is someone that you can meet whenever you want to? The corner of Qingya's mouth revealed out a clever arc as she said proudly, "My husband is 8 feet tall, he has a very graceful bearing, he is solemn, frank and clear, he has the bearing of a dragon and a phoenix, his face is like the moon of mid-autumn, his complexion is like the flowers of the dawn of spring, his hair is like a knife, his eyebrows are like a painting, his eyes are like autumn waves, and although he is angry, he would sometimes smile, and his gaze is filled with both anger and affection." Following Qingya's words, the entire place quietened down. Yihua, who was hiding at the side, rubbed onto his chin. I didn't expect that all of my good points would be pointed out by Qingya. Seems like Qingya's eyesight is rather good. Bonus points. Bonus points for all of my good points. Why didn't I say it earlier? Wei Chang took out a small notebook and noted down everything that His Honor said. What your wife said made His Honor very happy. Qing Yutong seemed to have a very cold look on her face as she hugged her arms. Big sister's words are simply praising brother-in-law to the sky. Look at brother-in-law's proud look. Donghuang Baiji was also astonished. The first sentence that Donghuang Baiji spoke was already off the mark. Is Yihua 8 feet long? It should be described with inches, right? Could it be that the two of us are not using the same thing? Zhu Jingqing and the others were stupefied. She actually asked me where my face came from. Young lady, do you even have any face left? And she even said that I have a disgusting face. You. Not bad. Do you think that just because I like you, you can be arrogant and despotic? Donghuang Baiji said in disdain, Your Highness, please take back your liking, you are making me want to vomit. Baiji, don't hurt your body, if not our man will feel heartache. Zhu Jingqing couldn't take it anymore and shouted out angrily, Fine. Today, I am going to capture you two and exterminate your voidless realm. I am going to let you two know that my dignity is not to be humiliated. The two women's beautiful pupils tensed up. They had already made their preparations for battle. Today, either they die or I die. Voidless realm, listen to my command, kill all of them. Donghuang Baiji shouted out. Zhu Jingqing sneered, Voidless realm, offend your superiors, kill all of them. Yihua looked at the development of the situation silently. His gaze was deep, but he didn't have the intention to take action. Brother-in-law, are we still watching? Qing Yutong was puzzled. If we were to rush out right now, the effect would be very good, and the misunderstanding would also disappear. Yihua let out a light sigh, they still have a lot of things to learn. Sometimes, failure is also a good thing, as they are able to clearly see their own inadequacies. What your honor said is very true, Langya's beauty is unparalleled in this world. Wei Chang hurriedly flattered, causing Qing Yutong to feel so cold that she wanted to hug her brother-in-law's body tightly. Yihua was at ease with Qingya's strength. After all, Qingya who had awakened her bloodline was stronger than Donghuang Baiji. Thinking up to here, Yihua felt that he had to increase Donghuang Baiji's strength. If not, when he is outside, he would have to worry about their safety. Chapter 397. Qingya was able to fight against the triplets by herself and was still not defeated. This made Zhu Jingqing and Wu Man feel very surprised. I didn't expect that the Nuwa clan would be so powerful. While Donghuang Baiji was only able to pin down Zhu Jingqing, this gave Wu Man a chance to show off his skills. Wu Man immediately rushed into Voidless Realm and started killing. Kill them all. Kill everyone here. Zhu Jingqing, who was fighting against Donghuang Baiji, shouted out loudly. As you wish. After speaking, Wu Man slashed towards a child. At this moment, Qingya and Donghuang Baiji turned pale with fright. Ali. It was indeed Donghuang Li. When she heard the sounds of fighting, she came over to help. Daddy is probably stuck in a traffic jam. Seeing that Ali was about to get injured, Qing Yutong hurriedly shook Yihua's arm, brother-in-law. Ali. Quickly go, quickly go. Don't mess around. Ali is stronger than you. Yihua pinched onto his sister-in-law's face. He was very assured towards his daughter. Not to mention, my daughter is the strongest mini-boss here. Dong Huangli raised her head and looked towards Wuman. Her baby fat face was blown by the astral wind that Wuman emitted. This bad uncle is truly shameless, to actually bully a child. Ali. Quickly dodge. Dong Huang Baiji shouted out loudly. If mommy wants Ali to dodge, then Ali will just dodge. Boom. Smoke filled the air, and small stones flew all over the place. Qingye and Dong Huang Baiji stopped what they were doing and looked at the scene in a daze. Zhu Jinqing has a sinister smile on his face. As for that Wuman, it seems like he has done something very awesome. He appeared very savage. However, when the smoke dispersed, Wuman saw a small figure appear. It's her. She actually stood on top of my sword. How is this possible? Zhu Jingqing was also stupefied. This can't be an old demon, right? Qingye and Dong Huang Baiji let out a breath of relief. That scene just now nearly scared their souls away. Qing Yutong patted onto her towering chest. Fortunately, she is fine. Wei Chang revealed a light smile. Since his honor is already so young, he will definitely become an overlord when he grows up. What is there to worry about with these women? Ali possesses my bloodline, and from the day she was born, she is already destined to be extraordinary. You, who are you? Wu Ma En's eyes opened wide, and he looked as if he had just seen a ghost. His strength was indeed a little weak, but in this low-level world, he was still an invincible existence. Today, however, he was played by a child. Ali isn't going to tell you, Dong Huangli pouted her small mouth, looking very tsundere. The more Wu Man thought about it, the angrier he became. He had lost face in front of the crown prince, and it was all because of this child. I'll kill you. 5 consecutive 6 slashes. Wu Man raised his hand, and a terrifying spiritual energy burst out. Tens of thousands of sword shadows attacked the small figure with the momentum of toppling mountains and overturning seas. Instantly, the sword chi crisscrossed, causing everyone to exclaim in admiration. Was this the might of a deity? The huge consumption caused Wu Ma An's breathing to become ragged. This little brat should be dead. However, not far away, Zhu Jingqing was dumbfounded. This was impossible. Dong Huangli could be seen standing on Wu Ma An's shoulder with her hands crossed behind her back. Dong Huangli had a very profound look on her face. Looking at his daughter's appearance, Yihua laughed lightly. Qingye and Dong Huang Baiji let out a sigh of relief. However, just who did she learn this expression from? If not for the fact that Dong Huangli was still very young right now, her face would definitely be even more shocking. However, right now, Dong Huangli's appearance was very cool. Wu Man's entire body shivered as he slowly turned his head around. Bad uncle, you are so weak. Dong Huangli laughed. I was called weak by a child. I am the son of a general. I am the favorite of His Highness the Crown Prince. Yet, today, in this low-level world, I was called weak by a child. I am definitely unable to endure this. Wu Man, whose face was completely red, began swelling up. This wasn't the swelling of his mentality, this was the swelling of his body. Dong Huangli lightly leaped onto the ground, then asked curiously, "Are you Hulk?" Green is impossible, but red is very red. Wu Man's small and weak body actually swelled up to 3 meters tall, and the muscles on his entire body became as tough as stone. Those thick and solid blood vessels on his body seemed to be filled with power. Roar, roar, roar. Wuman patted on his chest, then raised his gigantic fist and punched towards Dong Wangli. This punch of his was just like the power of a mountain. Blood surged, and it seemed as if no matter how hard steel was, it would still turn into powder under this punch. Go and die. White spiritual energy gushed out from Wu Ma's body like spring water, and the sound of wind being torn apart could be heard. Dong Wangli pursed her lips, then stretched out her palm. Bang! Wu Man's gigantic fist smashed onto Dong Wangli's small and fleshy palm, and a shockwave was actually created that spread towards the surroundings. Wu Man's feet even sank deep into the ground. After the smoke dispersed, Wu Man's tall and sturdy body was actually looking at Dong Wangli in a daze. What kind of monster are you? Wu Man asked stupidly. Ali is not a monster, Ali is daddy and mommy's good daughter, you are the monster. Dong Wangli said angrily. While puffing out her cheeks, Dong Wangli seemed to be saying, if you still want to scold me, then I won't be polite anymore. Wu Man raised his head and roared, then shouted out angrily, I am a deity. You lowly and despicable low-level races actually dare to insult me, I am going to use my fists to crush you all. I also want, awe. Before Wu Man could finish his words, Dong Wangli's small hand could be seen grabbing onto Wu Man's thumb, then swung her small arm. Wu Man, who was 3 meters tall and weighed at least a few hundred kilograms, was actually swung high into the air, then fiercely smashed onto the ground. This was not the end. Dong Wangli swung left and right, and Wu Man was just like a doll that was being swung around by Dong Wangli's petite body. Bang, 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 bang. Everyone was stupefied as they looked at Dong Wangli foolishly. In the end, Dong Wangli ruthlessly smashed onto the ground, then snorted, what a weak deity. Right now, Wu Man had already fainted from being smashed. It was fortunate that he didn't hear what Dong Wangli said, if not, he would definitely have fainted from anger. After jumping over Wu Man's body, Dong Wangli placed her hands on her waist and looked at Zhu Jingqing and the others. You bad guys are already surrounded by Ali, be tactful and raise your hands to surrender, if not, Ali is going to get angry. Ali has watched too many police and bandit movies, after all, our entire family are bandits, not police. Qing Yutong's beautiful face became soft. I really want to hug Ali, she is so cute, little sovereign is very courageous. Wei Chong gave the highest evaluation of Ali. Zhu Jingqing was already suppressed by Ali, and right now, he was also a bit flustered. Capture this child for me. Yes, Your Highness Crown Prince. The triplets immediately pounced towards Dong Wangli like hungry wolves. As long as they are able to capture Dong Wangli, they would definitely tear her apart. However, who was Dong Wangli? She was the first child of a supreme overlord. Chapter 398. Ho, 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 can't catch me, can't catch me. Dong Wangli made a funny face, then jumped away from Dong Wangli. A lump of golden flame appeared on Dong Wangli's finger, and without even thinking, Dong Wangli threw out the lump of golden flame. A small ball of golden flames drew an arc in the air. It was very beautiful, but also very terrifying. Puff! When the flames landed at the feet of the triplets, they instantly burst into flames. It was as if gasoline had found sparks and wanted to burn everything. The triplets were instantly buried in the sea of fire. They didn't even have the chance to scream before they turned into golden liquid that flowed on the ground. However, the fire could not be controlled at all. It rushed towards His Highness. The corner of Yi Hua's mouth twitched slightly. Once this sunfall heavenly fire comes into contact with an object, it would burn everything. Don't look at how Dong Wangli had only thrown out a small amount of sunfall heavenly fire, it was more than enough to burn the entire voidless realm. Dong Wangli was stupefied. It was clearly just a small fire, how did it become so big? he even burned Mama's palace. Dong Huangli, who didn't know what to do, immediately burst into tears, because her mommy will definitely scold her. Facing such a huge fire, no one was able to do anything. Dong Huang Baiji couldn't be bothered with the crown prince anymore. She hurriedly carried her daughter into her embrace and left, then ordered everyone to leave. Zhu Jingqing took this opportunity to escape. Just you wait. Wait for me to summon 1,000,000 soldiers. Now you know what pain is. Right now, everyone in Voidless Realm was looking at the tallest mountain, and the tallest mountain had already turned into a huge fireball. As the Empress Palace, it was the most luxurious and symbolic place. Today, it was actually burned down by the Empress' daughter. Everyone was heartbroken, but there was nothing they could do. Dong Huangli was already tired of crying, and while lying on her mother's bosom, she fell asleep. Dong Huang Baiji wanted to scold her, but she didn't know how to do it. Her daughter had resolved the crisis, but she had accidentally burned down the entire palace. It's all Yihua's fault. Seems like right now, Yihua has to take the blame for everything. This is truly too miserable. In actuality, Yihua was powerless to do anything. The might of the deviant flames was unimaginable, especially the sunfall heavenly flame, which couldn't be extinguished no matter what. Qingya let out a deep sigh. I have already told you. You can't teach a child to be too formidable, Yihua just won't listen. How long is this fire going to burn? Dong Huang Baiji mumbled. Suddenly, a very obvious small fireball fell from the fireball and landed on a mountain below. Qingya and Dong Huang Baiji's faces stiffened. Sure enough, the mountain peak was instantly set ablaze, and Dong Huang Baiji immediately dispersed the crowd. In the end, Voidless Realm had no choice but to gather the people from Voidless Realm and push the two mountains far away. Only then was Voidless Realm able to escape from this calamity. The main culprit, Dong Huangli, was currently pretending to be asleep, fearing that she would be scolded by her mother. Voidless Realm, which was missing two mountains, looked very awkward, especially with the disappearance of the King Peak, which was the topmost mountain. Voidless Realm looked just like a bald lady. Yihua expressed that there was nothing he could do about it. Although my main body is heaven-defying, there are still some things that cannot be changed. Fortunately, Voidless Realm was not a single entity. If Voidless Realm was a single entity, Voidless Realm would have definitely been burned to the ground. This was also the reason why Yihua often said that it was actually very easy to burn down the entire world. Now, even little Ali could do it. Alright, I just want to see Voidless Realm get burned down. If that's the case, we will have no place to return to, and we can only return to Voidless Realm. However, after this incident, I reckon that Dong Huangli wouldn't use Sunfall Heavenly Fire anymore. It was a pity that Wu Man, the military advisor, was knocked unconscious after only appearing for a few times. When Zhu Jingqing left, he didn't even care about Wu Man and ended up being burned to death. As for the triplets, they all died mysteriously. I reckon that they didn't even have the feeling of death. Seeing that the three of them were fine, Yihua, who was standing in the air, felt relieved. He didn't have any intention of meeting with them, and thus, he left with Wei Chang and his sister-in-law. Because there are more important things that I have to do, it doesn't seem appropriate for this crown prince to leave just like that, right? Seems like I have to bring my subordinates out for a walk and not force them too much, especially Yi Zizi, who has a bitter expression on her face all day long. Returning back to Leisure Bar, Yihua sent his sister-in-law away and prepared to have a good talk with Yi Zizi. Yihua pushed open the door of the bar, and Yi Zizi's petite back could be seen sitting in front of the desk. Her two ponytails were swaying back and forth behind her head, and it was clear that she was trying to seduce people. What are you doing? Yihua walked over and asked faintly. Yi Zizi said, teacher's assignment. Yihua took a look at Yi Zizi and saw that she was copying a text, just that, the handwriting is not something that an ordinary person would be able to recognize. Pulling out a small stool, Yihua sat at the side and asked lightly, "What's wrong? Are you unhappy?" Yi Zizi pursed her lips and said with grievance, "Zizi doesn't dare to be unhappy." "Then, I will register you for a cram school." Yi Zizi could be seen directly pouncing into Yihua's embrace and acting cute. "Ugh, ugh, ugh, Your Honor, I feel like vomiting. It's so stifling." Yihua patted onto Yi Zizi's forehead. "The reason why I came over this time is to help you reduce the pressure." Yi Zizi's beautiful eyes lit up, and she immediately sat properly like a good student and vowed solemnly, "Your Honor, as long as you help me reduce the pressure, I promise that I will study properly and improve every day." Rubbing onto Yi Zizi's head, Yihua said eerily, "You will enjoy this time of reducing the pressure." The corner of Yi Zizi's mouth arced upwards, her pair of big scarlet eyes were flickering with bloodlust, and her bright red tongue was licking the corner of her mouth, seemingly unable to wait any longer. Zhu Jingqing, who was forced to return to Heaven's mansion, was currently in a violent rage. "Today, I lost 4 of my generals. The most important thing is that Wu Ma died." Wu Ma family had been guarding the borders of Heaven's mansion for generations, defending against the ferocious beasts of Heaven's mansion in exchange for 1,000 years of peace. And this Wu Ma was the youngest son that the general doted on. If I were to tell him about this unfortunate news, Father Emperor would definitely blame me. Furthermore, in order to appease Wu Ma family, the punishment will be very heavy. This is not a situation that Zhu Jingqing wanted to see. Bang, bang, bang. Countless spirit porcelains were smashed into pieces by Zhu Jingqing. This kind of low-level world actually has such a child. That's right. This child called Donghuang Baiji Mother. Could it be that this child awakened East Emperor's bloodline? If so, everything will make sense. This East Emperor's bloodline is indeed terrifying. No wonder Ho Shuolin wanted to take it for himself. That's right. Since no one knows about Wu Ma An's death, I might as well push the blame onto the person who destroyed Ho Wang Mansion. Your Highness the Crown Prince. A dignified-looking woman could be seen walking over and shouting out with a sweet voice. When Zhu Jingqing, who was in a violent rage, saw this concubine, he immediately thought of those 2 women and grabbed onto the concubine's wrist. Your Highness the Crown Prince, it hurts, Zhu Jingqing shouted out towards the maids, "All of you, scram out." After all of the maids left the room, Zhu Jingqing directly pressed the concubine onto the table and vented out the resentment in his heart. Zhu Jingqing even swore that sooner or later, he will definitely kill those 2 women. After venting out his resentment, Zhu Jingqing felt much better and rewarded the concubine. Chapter 399. Zhu Jingqing was puzzled. Now that Wu Ma was gone, he had lost a powerful foil. "All right, allow me to undress." After changing into a new robe, Zhu Jingqing walked into the hall uneasily and saw the person he didn't want to see the most. Wu Ma Chao. Che Hongliang and Celestial Master Ing Wei were there as well. They seemed to be discussing something. Wu Ma Chao wasn't as handsome as his youngest son, Wu Ma. His fierce face showed the traces of time. Even when meeting the emperor, he wore armor. If Wu Ma Chao knew that his youngest son had been killed by the crown prince, he would probably kill the crown prince. Why did General Wu Ma suddenly rush back? Zhu Qingxian, who was sitting on the throne, asked curiously. Wu Ma Chao cupped his hands and said, "Your Majesty, I received a secret report from the Celestial Master and immediately rushed back." Wu Ma Chao's voice was loud and clear. Zhu Qingxian was unhappy. The Celestial Master was making a big deal out of nothing. "Celestial Master, General Wu Ma is guarding the border. How can we let him come back so suddenly?" The Celestial Master was terrified. "Your Majesty, this is a special time. With General Wu Ma here, the royal hunt will be safer." Wu Ma Chao cupped his hands and shouted, "Don't worry, Your Majesty. I will do my best to protect your majesty. Then I will have to trouble General Wu Ma. Zhu Qingxian was helpless. A trace of annoyance flashed between his brows. Crown Prince, the royal hunt is in 3 days. Finish this quickly. Zhu Qingxian said to his son. This was also a chance for his son to perform for the royal family. Zhu Jingqing cupped his hands and said, Your son understands. Zhu Qingxian nodded and scanned the crowd. I don't want to hear anyone else talk about this bloody light. Anyone who disobeys will be executed. The 4 knelt together. Your Majesty is wise. You may all leave. The 4 bowed and left the hall. Zhu Jingqing quickened his pace. He didn't want to talk to Wu Ma Chao in case the latter saw through him. However, this action made Wu Ma Chao feel like something was wrong. In the past, this crown prince was trying to curry favor with him, but now he was leaving so quickly. Your Highness, Wu Ma Chao called with a smile. Zhu Jingqing stopped in his tracks and cursed under his breath. However, he still turned around and smiled. General Wu Ma. Why is my son not accompanying the crown prince? Wu Ma Chao asked curiously. Oh, I didn't see it today either. Zhu Jingqing smiled. You won't be able to find this corpse in your entire life. Wu Ma Chao smiled. That's strange. He's not at home either. Maybe I'll go to a girl's house and stay the night. Zhu Jingqing's words made Wu Ma Chao believe him. Being romantic was their motto. This general will not disturb the crown prince any further. I hope the crown prince will guide my son. Wu Ma Chao cupped his hands in greeting. Zhu Jingqing laughed heartily. Well said, well said. Seeing Wu Ma Chao leave, Zhu Jingqing heaved a sigh of relief. Fortunately, today was a secret mission, and no one knew. Your Highness the Crown Prince. Che Hongliang suddenly walked out from the side, a pair of small eyes revealing shrewdness. Zhu Jingqing was startled, but he squeezed out a smile. Sir Che. Che Hongliang chuckled. Today, Your Highness the Crown Prince brought the general's son and a few subordinates out. I'm sure your luck with women is not shallow. Zhu Jingqing really wanted to chop this bastard in front of him into pieces. He actually sent people to spy on me. Furthermore, he also found out about today's matter. What should I do? Seeing that the crown prince did not speak, Che Hongliang said indifferently, Just now, Your Highness the Crown Prince and the General said that you don't know Wu Ma An's whereabouts. This is a bit. Sir Che must have remembered wrongly. Zhu Jingqing gradually stopped smiling. At this moment, he could not even smile anymore. Then, if the General knows that the Crown Prince lied, I'm afraid that the matter will be reported to His Majesty. Che Hongliang. Just what are you trying to do? Zhu Jingqing lowered his voice and shouted. Relying on the support of the Empress, the Crown Prince actually dared to speak rudely to me. Che Hongliang did not expect the Crown Prince to have such a big reaction. At the start, I was only probing, but from the looks of it now, something must have happened. Otherwise, the Crown Prince would not be this nervous. Could it be that Wu Ma An has already? Your Highness the Crown Prince is very busy. I'm just afraid that Your Highness the Crown Prince is too busy. Don't you just want a plane? I'll give you one and seal your mouth. So it's this matter. Sir Che, you can be at ease. After the imperial hunt is over, I will report this matter to my father. This was precisely what Che Hongliang wanted to hear. Thank you, Your Highness the Crown Prince. Take care, Sir Che. Looking at Che Hongliang leaving, Zhu Jingqing wished that he could take out his sword and stab Che Hongliang in the back. To actually dare to trick even me. Just now, it would have been great if I had brought the unconscious Wu Ma An along with me. If not, why would I be threatened by Che Hongliang now? Right now, the most important matter is to properly handle the imperial hunt. After the imperial hunt is over, I will think of a way to get the Dongwang bloodline, Nuwa bloodline, and those two women. This matter cannot be spoken out even if I am beaten to death. After all, this matter is more important than the throne. 3 days passed by very quickly. Because it was the imperial hunt, the people in the city were celebrating as if it was a festival. To them, the imperial hunt was a big day. The more the imperial hunt was, the more glorious the imperial family was, and the more peaceful the heavens mansion was. Of course, the hunt was also a chance for the princes to perform. Chapter 400. Drums thundered through the air, carrying with them a sense of majesty and solemnity. It also symbolized that the royal family was out on patrol, and everyone had to kneel to welcome them. As the procession walked out of the palace, everyone on the road to the city gates knelt down to welcome them. This was the royal family of heaven's sanctum. Everyone had to submit to them. After walking out of the southern city gates, the procession gradually rose into the sky and rushed towards the hunting grounds. The majestic procession walked in the sky. When they passed by the city, the people below looked up at the royal family and then knelt down to offer their sincere blessings. The hunting was a traditional festival of the royal family. For safety and the dignity of the royal family, some spirit beasts were specially reared for the royal family to hunt, or if someone injured the spirit beasts first, then the princes would hunt them. In short, the royal hunt was a deep set of traps. Chonglin was the royal hunting grounds. Zhu Jingqing had built a temporary courtyard, and opposite the courtyard was a forest. When the people of the royal family arrived, the forest was filled with the melodious chirping of birds. Thousands of birds flew into the sky. Your Majesty is blessed. Even these birds are cheering for your Majesty's arrival. Che Hongliang couldn't help but flatter. Che Mainyang was the current empress and Che Hongliang's older sister. In such an occasion, she would definitely stand by the emperor's side. Receiving the protection of your Majesty, even these birds are singing your praises. It's a good sign. Che Mainyang laughed softly. Behind her was a group of beautiful concubines, all of whom only wanted to receive the emperor's favor. And among these concubines, there were many virgins that even the emperor had forgotten to touch. Hearing these compliments, Zhu Qingxian revealed a faint smile. With this emperor here, the country will naturally prosper and the people will be at peace. Following Zhu Qingshuan's words, everyone knelt down and shouted, "God bless your Majesty, God bless heaven's sanctum." Zhu Qingxian smiled and waved his hand. The people began to set up camp, while the people of the royal family and the others entered the courtyard to rest. Walking into the courtyard, Zhu Qingxian smiled, "Crown Prince, you did well. Thank you for the praise, Father." In the past, they had to set up tents for the hunt, but this time, Zhu Jingqing had built a temporary courtyard in 3 days. Hearing the emperor praise the crown prince, Che Mainyang and Che Hongliang were very unhappy. "Your Majesty, if you let Yun do it, I believe she will do it well," Che Mainyang said in a low voice. Zhu Yun bowed and stood to the side. In a low voice, he said, "Your Highness, the Crown Prince's intelligence surpasses others. Your son is inferior." Zhu Qingxian didn't say anything, but Che Mainyang glared at her son. Zhu Yun actually didn't like it. Father Emperor valued Zhu Xinqing very much now. Now that Zhu Yun was comparing himself to him, wouldn't that make Father Emperor feel disgusted? This Zhu Yun was a smart person and had some ability. Che Hongliang also valued him a lot, but his sister was too impatient, causing Zhu Yun's image to be bad in front of His Majesty. "Royal brother, you must be joking. If you were to handle this matter, you would definitely surpass me. Crown Prince, you are too kind." The two of them complimented each other and were equally matched. As for the princes who were following behind, they watched the development of the situation. Right now, the crown prince obviously had the upper hand, but Zhu Yun had the support of the empress and Che Hongliang. His strength could not be underestimated. In addition, Marquis Wang Ye's entire family was suddenly wiped out. The situation suddenly became complicated and confusing. As the emperor, Zhu Qingxian came here to relax and watch the performance of the princes. Of course, he also had to pamper the imperial concubines. After all, this was also a chance for them. Although they couldn't enjoy the rain and dew, at least they could break as many as they could. At least they wouldn't die with their bodies intact. The hunt officially begins. Princes, go and prepare. Following Emperor Zhu Qingshuan's order, hundreds of princes began to prepare to enter the field. As for the wives of these princes, they also began to worry. Although the spirit beasts in Changlin were of low level, accidents might happen. One had to know. Every time there was a hunt, someone would die. Perhaps these women didn't know that they weren't killed by the spirit beasts, but by their half-brothers. The royal family was just that cruel. As the emperor, he saw all of this but didn't stop it. If the world wasn't won through fighting, would it still be called the world? Princes died one after another, and young princes were born continuously. The gods who had a long life didn't worry about the future generations. Zhu Xingqing was the crown prince and the leader of the entire faction. Although he had lost a powerful helper like Wu Man, these younger brothers still had a lot of power. It seemed like he had to think about it carefully. Crown Prince, why don't we have a competition? Zhu Yun, who was riding on by Rome, said to Zhu Xingqing with a smile. Dozens of princes followed behind him. Zhu Xingqing also had many princes. Royal brother, you said the same thing last year, right? Zhu Xingqing said indifferently. He didn't even look at Zhu Yun, and his words were full of sarcasm. Crown Prince, you are right. However, I have practiced for a year, and I hope to catch up to you. Zhu Xingqing chuckled and said, Royal brother, even if you practice for another 100 years, you still won't be able to catch up to me. Chia. After saying this, Zhu Xingqing led the princes of one faction into Changlin. Dust instantly flew up. Zhu Yun's eyes gleamed coldly as he shouted, Jia. After the princes of the two factions left, there were dozens of princes left. They didn't want to fight and wanted to be free. Therefore, they entered Changlin unhurriedly and hunted some small animals in the periphery before going back to report. After Zhu Xingqing rushed into Changlin, he didn't go inside. Instead, he circled around the periphery before he stopped. Crown Prince. I'm afraid that Zhu Yun is going to kill you. This person was called Zhu Di. Apart from Wu Man, he was the only person that Zhu Xingqing trusted. Zhu Xingqing sneered, after so many years of killing, has he ever succeeded? Your Highness, you should be careful. Zhu Di warned. It was better to be safe than sorry. Underestimating the enemy was a taboo in the military. However, Zhu Xingqing seemed to have forgotten the lesson from 3 days ago. Brothers, let's warm up in the outer perimeter first. Then, follow me in to kill the strongest spirit beasts. Let the Emperor Father witness our teamwork. Zhu Xingqing exuded the might of the Crown Prince and shouted at the people behind him to boost their morale. Yes. Your Highness. On the other side, Zhu Yun led his people to circle around the periphery before he stopped. This time, they must kill the Crown Prince. Of course, they couldn't kill him openly. They had to pretend that they were killed by the spiritual beasts. Royal brother, we must win this time. A handsome man rode out on a spiritual horse. His name was Zhu Zhu, and he was Zhu Yun's right-hand man. Zhu Yun said in a deep voice, it's either we succeed or we die. It's time to change the Crown Prince. Royal brother, you're right. Zhu Xingqing is a playboy. I don't know what father sees in him. Even if he sees something, he will unfortunately die under the spiritual beast's cudgels today. Zhu Yun revealed a murderous look as if he had killed his father. After saying that, Zhu Yun led his people into the depths of Chonglin. It seemed like he wanted to set up an ambush first. There were only some ordinary spirit beasts in the periphery. They were like rabbits or deer, and they weren't aggressive at all. However, as they went deeper, the spiritual beasts became more lethal. However, the strongest spiritual beasts here were only high-level spiritual beasts. Just like ordinary people and tigers and lions, there wouldn't be any dinosaur-level spiritual beasts. Therefore, the spiritual beasts weren't much of a threat to the princes. After all, the weapons in their hands were ancient godly items. As for ancient godly items, they were very rare. Chapter 401. As Zhu Yun ventured deeper into the forest, the air was filled with a sense of fear. This caused everyone to feel strange. "Brother, why do I feel that something is wrong?" Zhu frowned and looked around. Why didn't he feel this way in the past? It was as if a strange aura was pressing down on his back, making it hard for him to breathe. Zhu Yun also noticed that something was amiss and stopped his horse. His instincts told him that he couldn't go any deeper. Could there be a high-level ancient beast? Zhu Yun muttered. That's possible. Dong! 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 Suddenly, a series of stomping sounds rang out, causing the ground to tremble. The prince's horses were startled, but they quickly calmed down. After all, their mounts were not ordinary warhorses. The tremors on the ground were getting stronger and stronger, indicating that they were getting closer. Zhu Yun felt his entire body trembling. Roar! An angry roar broke the tranquility of the forest. Under the roar, the spiritual energy fluctuations spread out in all directions. Everyone immediately put up their defenses. Zhu was in disbelief and shouted, "This is a high-level ancient beast, black-green eye." The princes were shocked. They didn't even see any high-level spirit beasts, but a high-level ancient beast had suddenly appeared. This was the royal hunting ground. How could there be such an ancient beast? Retreat! Retreat! Zhu Yun hurriedly ordered and turned to run. Black-green eye was not an ordinary high-level ancient beast, because its size was not ordinary. Boom! Just as the princes were about to turn and run, a gigantic ancient beast charged at them. It had a pair of green eyes, 4 limbs, and silvery white fur all over its body. It was several hundred meters tall, and every time it ran, the ground would tremble. However, upon closer inspection, the green eyes and black eyes looked a bit like a gorilla. Even the way it ran was a bit similar. However, its face was filled with fear. Its green eyes seemed to have seen something even more terrifying. It ran outside without a care for its life. The warhorses of the princes were relatively fast, but compared to a high-level ancient beast, they were still lacking. Scatter and run! Zhu Yun shouted. Black-green eye looked at the princes that were like ants, and it wanted to stomp them to death. Ah! Ah! A few princes instantly died under black-green eye's huge foot, and they were actually stomped into meat paste. Stop! Zhu Yun suddenly shouted. Everyone stopped what they were doing and dodged the attack very well. After that, Black Eye ran away just like that. What was going on? Wasn't it chasing after him? Why did he run away? Imperial brother, Black Eye seems to be being chased by something. Zhu gasped for breath. The situation just now was truly terrifying. If the black-eyed beast turned around and attacked, the consequences would be unthinkable. In actuality, this black-eyed beast was much more powerful than in Families and Voidless Realms divine beasts, and they weren't on the same level at all. However, in Voidless Realm, this black-eyed beast was merely a high-rank ancient beast. On the other hand, Ing family and voidless realms godly beasts could only be considered as high-level spiritual beasts at most. Just as Zhu Yun was about to say something, the ground suddenly began to squirm. Everyone looked at their feet. There was something moving quickly below them. Everyone had a bad feeling as they looked at Black-Eyed, who was running for his life in the distance. Boom! The princes stared at the scene in front of them with their mouths agape. A gigantic corpse Kuan drilled out from the ground and opened its bloody mouth. Its green eyes were filled with panic. In terms of size, the two weren't on the same level at all. The corpse Kuan was several thousand meters long, and when it opened its bloody mouth, it was large enough to swallow the black-eyed beast whole. Fear appeared on Black-Eye's face. Although it had jumped high into the air, it wasn't flying, and it was still going to fall. Lowering its head and looking at the huge mouth that was filled with a fishy smell, Black-Eyed fell into despair. The corpse Kuan could be seen fiercely closing its mouth and letting out a loud sound. The lower half of Black-Eye's body was gone, and only its chest and head were left. The two enormous beasts landed from the sky, raising a cloud of dust. All the princes were dumbstruck. However, the matter wasn't over yet. Right now, Black-Eyed wasn't completely dead yet. Its strong desire to live was telling it that it still had a chance to live. The corpse Kuan was like a python as it revolved around Black-Eyed, seemingly playing with this weak life. Imperial brother, why would this ferocious beast appear in Changlin? Zhu Zhu's tone was filled with boundless fear. It is impossible for such a ferocious beast to appear in Changlin. Zhu Yun's chest moved up and down, seeming to be very excited. However, within this excitement, there was also deep fear, blood glow. Blood glow. Blood glow. All the princes thought back to what happened a few days ago. Although the news of what happened was sealed off, all of them still knew about it. Now that the corpse Kuan suddenly appeared in Changlin, does this mean that the blood glow has been verified? The corpse Kuan seemed to have finished playing with the corpse Kuan and swallowed the remaining black-eyed. Right now, all the princes didn't dare to make any movements, fearing that this damnable corpse Kuan would attack them. If that happened, they would be dead for sure. On the other side, Zhu Jingqing and his men had hunted quite a lot of low-grade spiritual beasts, and their results were pretty good. Crown Prince, do you think that this Zhu Yun will ambush us like how he did in the past? Zhu Di asked with a smile on his face while stepping on the three-horned deer's corpse. Zhu Jingqing sneered, other than ambush, could it be that he still has other tricks up his sleeves? Perhaps, he might even call an accomplice. Zhu Di said jokingly. Accomplice? This is a battle between princes. If he really calls an accomplice and this matter is reported to father, the one who will be out of luck will still be him. Although the emperor allowed the princes to fight during the hunt, it was ultimately a battle within the family, and if outsiders were to get involved, it would be a huge crime. Your Highness is right, but we must also be careful. Zhu Di warned. This was the same as Wu Ma, and they were both doing it for the sake of the crown prince. However, when these words fell into Zhu Jingqing's ears, it was different, as if he was looking down on him. What is there to be afraid of, a small Zhu Yun? It's almost time to go in, this crown prince will take this Zhu Yun's head today. Zhu Jingqing was incomparably arrogant, he was truly someone who was not afraid of being beaten. Roar! Suddenly, a roar came from the depths of the forest, everyone couldn't help but stop in their tracks, and their position started to shake slightly. Your Highness, this is an ancient beast. Zhu Di guessed, because it was too far away, he could only make a guess. Zhu Jingqing waited for a long time, and nothing happened, as if the roar was just an illusion. He chuckled, let's go. At this time, Zhu Yun was sweating profusely, the corpse Kuan was actually not moving. Furthermore, the corpse Kuan was fixedly staring at Zhu Yun's side, as if it was issuing a warning. Looking at the festering flesh and the stench coming from the corpse Kuan, the prince's faces flushed red, and they felt like vomiting, but they didn't dare to vomit. Suddenly, a cheerful melody rang out from the depths of the forest. Happy goat, beautiful goat, lazy goat, boiling goat. At this kind of gloomy moment, there was actually someone singing, and everyone couldn't help but look over. Chapter 402. Don't look at me as a sheep, I am actually a wolf. The princes looked at the little girl stupidly. They weren't shocked by the little girl, but because the little girl was riding on the sheep and swaggered past the corpse Kuan. How is this possible? This is a ferocious corpse Kuan, a powerful and ferocious beast that kills people like killing chickens. You, such a cute little girl, actually walked past him and sat on the back of a weak spirit goat. Isn't this the same as delivering delicious food? Yizizi stretched out her little hand and yawned. I love his honor so much, he actually let me relieve pressure like this. Sob, sob, sob. I'm so happy these lowly humans revealed that terrified expression again. It was so comfortable to watch. When Yizizi stopped in front of the corpse Kuan, everyone took in a mouthful of cold air. If they still don't know what is going on, then they aren't fit to be princes. This little girl is the mastermind behind the scenes, and this corpse Kuan is listening to her. My God, how is this possible? Why would a powerful corpse Kuan listen to a little girl? Yizizi jumped down from the sheep's back, then looked at the well-dressed princes in front of her and said, Little brothers, how do you want to die? Zhu Yun looked at the cute little loli and the huge corpse Kuan in front of him, and his mind actually went blank. Zhu Zhu, who was at the side, was also stupefied. This is simply unbelievable. However, one of the princes came back to his senses rather quickly. He could no longer hold back the fear in his heart, and he immediately rode on the spiritual horse and fled. Yizizi let out a light sigh, as if she was feeling very regretful. Then, a strand of hair that was like a sharp blade pierced through the prince's head, and the prince hung high up in the air. It has been a long time since I tasted blood essence. Yizizi greedily sucked in the blood essence, and a blurry expression appeared on her face. However, the other princes were no longer calm. Looking at their brother who was hung up in the air, their limbs twitched, their eyes rolled up, their skin became whiter and whiter, and in the blink of an eye, they became just skin and bones. Slurp. Yizizi couldn't help but let out a sound. Don't let them get away, Yizizi said faintly. The corpse Kuan behind her seemed to have woken up, and it emitted a terrifying aura. Boom! Boom! In the other two directions, two more corpse Kuan drilled out from the ground, and those huge heads stared at the princes. Surrounded by three corpse Kuns, the princes were scared witless. They were smart enough to know that they were done for today. I have no enmity with you, why do you want to kill us? Zhu Yun couldn't help but ask. Even if he was going to die, he had to understand. Yizizi slowly walked over and said with a sweet smile, who said that one must have a grudge to kill? You! Little big brother, you don't have to be too sad, it's hard for everyone to avoid death. Believe me, your death is heavier than a goose feather, wrong, heavier than Mount Tai, lighter than Mount Tai. Yizizi rubbed her head with both of her hands. I wrote it down from memory last night, how could I have forgotten about it? Zhu Zhu summoned his courage and roared, we're princes of heaven's sanctum. You won't have it easy either. I know that you are princes, and there is also a crown prince. Yizizi said with a mischievous smile. She seemed like a sinister little loli. Zhu Yun said in a deep voice, you're talking about Zhu Jingqing. Are you here for Zhu Jingqing? You can say that I am. This idiot provoked someone that he shouldn't have provoked. Zhu Jingqing is not here, he is in another direction, you can just go and find him. Zhu Yun hurriedly reported the location. Yizizi laughed, I know, I will go after I kill you all. It seems like it's useless to say so much. Zhu Yun was confused and questioned, why do you want to kill us? Because of Zhu Jingqing. Yi Zizi had a look of, you are an idiot, is there even a need to ask, on her face. Then why don't you go and find Zhu Jingqing? Because you all aren't dead yet. Yi Zizi stood on her feet and stroked the spirit goat beside her, and that spirit goat closed its eyes comfortably. Zhu Yun remained silent for a while, then asked one last question, I want to know, will Zhu Jingqing die too? He won't die. PFFF. Zhu Yun spat out a mouthful of blood from anger. It was obviously Zhu Jingqing who caused all of this, why did he not die in the end, and yet I have to die for him? In this life, I am just a foil, even if I die, I will still be like this. Zhu Yun is not willing to accept this. Wow, you are so angry to the point of vomiting blood, just how big of a grudge do you all have against each other? Yi Zizi cried out in surprise. It was very rare for someone to vomit blood from anger. Zhu Yun seemed to have collapsed in an instant, then said, a very big grudge. It's a pity that I have a mission to complete, I am unable to help you take revenge. Yi Zizi pouted her mouth. His honor's order was to leave Zhu Jingqing alive, and the other princes will do as they see fit. The meaning of do as they see fit was very clear, that is, death, there was no other possibility. However, when these words fell into the ears of the princes, it was as if a bolt from the blue had struck them, causing their ears to ring. This little girl actually has a mission to complete, then who is the person who gave her the mission? Everyone's scalp went numb, and they couldn't help but think of the bloody glow. The legend is real. When the bloody glow appears, the country will face disaster. However, I can let you all die together, at least you all will be able to see each other's miserable state, what do you think? Yi Zizi suggested.